Good morning and welcome to the Adult Education and Workforce Development Statewide Webinar for November 10th, 2021. I am Jerry Hafner, and joining me this morning is the Adult Education team and some very special guests. Let's begin this morning with a success story from the Literacy Alliance in Fort Wayne. The story goes like this. My name is Jenna, and I'm a mother of 3 terrific boys. My oldest just turned 20 years old this month. I have been happily married for 15 years, and I've been sober for 33 months. The Jenna I am today is a long way from the Jenna I was just a few short years ago. To say that I had a traumatic childhood would be an understatement. At 16, I became a mother. By the time that I was 17, I was on my own with my child. I always loved school and was disappointed when I had to drop out after my son was born. But I couldn't afford a babysitter and go both to work and to school at the same time. In addition to other obstacles, I am bipolar. 5 years ago, I tried to kill myself and almost succeeded. I was intubated and hospitalized. When I woke up, I decided that wasn't who I wanted to be. Last year, I obtained my driver's license for the very first time in my life, and then I was determined to see if I could get my high school equivalency diploma. That's when I saw a story on the news about the Literacy Alliance, and I decided to check it out. The people at the Literacy Alliance were so kind and free of judgment. I cannot express how much I enjoyed my time there. I know I couldn't have made it without their help. The teachers and tutors all worked so well with me. Today, with my diploma in hand, I am proud to say I have finally completed one of my life's dreams. I am now enrolled in the Ivy Tech Culinary Arts program, and this will fulfill another lifelong goal. And I'm excited to announce, along with the Fort Wayne Literacy Alliance, that last month, Ivy Tech, where she is a student, announced the student winners of the 24th Annual European Competition. Jenna was named one of 8 students who will travel to Italy and France on a culinary arts study trip this spring. This class represents years of hard work from our hospitality administration students, says Erin Parkinson, who is the program chair there at Ivy Tech. Getting to learn from European chefs will expose our students to new culinary and baking techniques and will enhance their education, he said. Jenna's journey from despair to college student and now award-winning student chef is simply amazing. Congratulations to the Literacy Alliance and to Jenna for your accomplishments. Well, moving on this morning, Bart Doan is with us with some updates. Bart, as you know, is the Associate Director of Youth Initiatives. Welcome, Bart.
Hey, Jerry. Hopefully you guys can hear me. So good morning to everybody out there. The first update is from our Young Adult Services Summit, which was October 19th. It's kind of our annual convening of youth caseworkers across the state. It's not a JAG event, so it's all of our folks that are working in the work once the out of school youth population. So around nearly 100 folks from around the state took part in it. It was virtual once again this year. We anticipate it being in person next year. Commissioner Payne kicked off with some updates. The day closed with a youth panel, which we'll talk about here in just a second. And just a very special thank you to Jerry and Meghan for presenting on adult education. We always have great partnership with adult education on this particular event, and we hope for the same going forward. Do I just tell you next slide, or there we go. Here's a photo of the Young Adult Services Youth Panel. We're fortunate to have 3 young people from Northern Indiana, Central Indiana, and sort of Southeast Indiana join us and talk about their experiences working with Work One. All three were young ladies. Two of them were very young parents. One of them was found in a homeless shelter, and she talked about how she actually used adult education services to get her diploma and get a job and get on her way. So the things you're doing are impacting these young people, and that is a wonderful thing. We also gave out awards to special young adult services staff. Julie Barrett from Region 12 was Innovator of the Year. Sherry Ruge from Region 1 was Lifetime Achievement Award winner. The Manager of the Year was Heather Williams up in Region 2. And then the Young Adult Services Staff of the Year, so folks that went above and beyond. Valerie Fisher from Region 9, Audrey Bookman from Region 11, Michelle Thomas from Region 2, and Maggie Botts from Region 1. Note that if you are interested in being on our sort of monthly Young Adult Services newsletter, it's a s'more. Please connect, just email me. My contact info is over there, shoot me a text, and we'll make sure to get you on that particular newsletter. So there's a lot of good information on there. Now switching over to JAG updates. We always have great participation and support from adult education across the state at our career development conferences. For those of you that don't know what those are, or maybe new staff, that's where our JAG Indiana students compete in a bunch of employability skills competitions. They dress up, you know, they're the kids that have made it out of their class as the cream of the crop in terms of their ability and skills in these particular competitions. So if you are interested, please reach out and let us know. There is a link there to a Google Doc that you can click on, and it will show you the dates and locations across the state. So if you're interested in attending in one of the regions, just click on that. Ours state one is in March of 2022, March 18th, and it's at Ivy Tech Community College. Lastly, from a data perspective, as of October, there are 162 non-grads in JAG follow-up. Please feel free to reach out in connecting with those kiddos. They're still in follow-up, so you'll have the support of the JAG specialist that is connecting with them as well. So they have that kind of wraparound service. And then if you're interested in any state career development conference judging, reach out. Lastly, some other updates. We're working a little bit closer with Department of Corrections. One of the things when we met with them, they talked about how we can better connect with the young people leaving the system to adult ed classes, because the reality is no matter what is on their sort of release form, what we're finding out is adult education services are likely not only where they'll end up, but better for them than just trying to go back to school and being, you know, significant amount of credits behind. And please reach out to me if you're interested in having kind of a further discussion on this. Last thing we have for you is the Governor's Work Ethic Certificate is undergoing a study from the University of Notre Dame, and they're studying the impact on student outcomes for that. And we'll share that when there's a little more meat on the bone there, so to speak. Timeline for completion on that's to be determined. So again, just reach out with any questions on anything youth, and glad to work with you in getting those connections made.
Thanks a bunch, Bart. Really appreciate it. We've got more news this morning. Earlier in the fall, Wayne Township, I'm happy to announce, Wayne Township Adult Education, their career training program was selected as one of 9 programs nationally as an innovative practice by the U.S. Department of Education, the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education. Called Advancing Innovation in Adult Education, this is led by the Manhattan Strategy Group and funded by USDOE. The project highlights adult education providers that use creative approaches to help adult learners transition to further education and employment. The program offers training in several occupations, including healthcare and construction management, that lead to industry-recognized credentials. Learners work on building their academic and employability skills through self-paced online instruction that is customized to their academic needs. As well, adult learners are paired with a life coach who provides advice and support in addressing barriers such as transportation and childcare. The program is part of an established career pathway that includes career counselors and workforce partners. Cheryl Keenan of the U.S. Department of Education said of Wayne Township and the 8 other winners, so many individuals who already had barriers to employment have been disproportionately affected by the pandemic. Innovation. Innovation may be more important now than ever to get people back to work and on a pathway that offers real opportunity. So congratulations to Wayne Township and all the good work that Christy and your staff do, and congratulations on this very prestigious award. Now, switching gears, Adam Springwater is here this morning to spend some time covering the Iset data management report. Good morning, Adam.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good to be here this morning, as always. I have to say, again, Jerry, your stories that start the program are always so inspirational. And the last, I think it was Bart, I'm sorry if I'm getting your name wrong. Some of you know I spent the significant portion of my career working with youth offenders, at-risk offenders, and adults in incarceration. And the programs that you offer in Indiana that quite frankly give people a choice are near and dear to my heart. So I love starting off my day with the positive news from Indiana. And we're moving into what I would consider the third phase of Hiset and in the state of Indiana. And that's where y'all have really dug into it, and test centers are up and offering testing, and you're starting to generate data. And I'm getting a significant number of requests for how to process that data and what the reporting features are of the actual Hiset program. So we're going to take a look at this, because this is what we call a taste. We're going to give you a little overview, a very brief overview of what the Hiset data manager can do. My job is to create headings for myself with this brief interview to generate questions with you so that you will reach out, and we're going to follow up with an in-depth webinar in the future. Meghan and Jerry are going to schedule that and let you know. So some of you are aware that there's quite a few resources that are available to you through your portal. And we're going to take a look at student score reports, logging on, accessing data manager, and then there's really two types of reports here, but you can customize them and save them. So there's 4 entries. So slide. So having been an educator for most of the last 30 years, one of the situations I have never faced with a student taking a test is, I don't care how I did, doesn't matter. In fact, the number one question you get all the time is, did I pass? And some of the reports that I've looked at through the years, I just wonder, did they deliberately design them to confuse the learner? By the way, my name is Meghan Hibbert today. Meghan and I are doing a doppelganger due to the login. So anything I say that's good, you can give Adam Springwater credit for, and anything you have questions for, please go directly to Meghan. Now, Meghan's my partner. She does a great job. Anyway, the reporting, though, it's a feature that is so clear and direct of the Hiset that when I first started with it almost 8 years ago, I was so thrilled, because if you look at the individual test report, and remember, this is accessible through the students portal, so the students login page, as well as through your admin portal, you can log in and look at this. Now, this is a picture-ready, a PDF type report that generates a lot of information in a presentable format. We're going to look later at how to look at aggregate information. But if you look at this report, right there, practically in the middle of the page, in a big blue box, did you achieve the minimum score? Yes or no? It's a very easy to navigate, very accessible piece of information. I chose to use the example of language arts because, as all of you now know, the language arts is the only subtest that's broken down into 2 parts. You must pass both parts together. There's a multiple choice and an essay. And so this clearly shows the language arts writing score. The student got 15 out of 20. Then if you look at the third column, minimum amount score, minimum scaled score required. So it gives all of that information, but on the right, yes or no, did you pass? So obviously if it's a yes, most students will skip past this part. But if that was a no, they could look to the left and really understand why they got the score they got. and then just to back it up, just to make sure they understand whether or not they passed the essay. So very powerful little piece of information, but again, starts off simply, yes or no, did you pass? Then below it, especially for instructors or for students that did not pass or are using this test to go on to a 2 or 4 year remedial program, 2 or 4 year VOTEC or junior college program, this gives information on how they did in the performance. So this breaks down the content categories and how they did. So you can see, although this student passed, which is great, if this was my student, I'd say, we may, if you go into a 2 or 4 year program, I'd like to see you work on your writing conventions. Very powerful tool, a lot of information here. Slide. The comprehensive report is, the battery report. And again, did I pass the battery? It's the number one question. And smack dab in the middle of the page is, did you pass the Hiset exam? Yes or no? I hope you're all smiling right now because I know you've all looked at reports. Some of us have gotten them. Did I pass? Did I get the load? What are you actually saying here? This report makes it clear as day. And then if you look above it, it breaks it down how you got to that yes or no. Did you take all 5 of the subtests? Did you achieve the minimum score? Did you score at least 2 out of 6 on the essay? So it breaks down the scoring rubric in an easy to navigate flow chart, but right there in the middle of the page, did you pass, yes or no? Furthermore, below it breaks down each of the 5 subtests, and what I very much enjoy about this report is it shows what their highest score was. Because as we know, students will often take subtests multiple times. Sometimes it's because they may have achieved the minimum 8 out of 20 to pass that subtest, but they didn't achieve the minimum 45 points to pass the entire battery. Sometimes it's because they are trying to achieve that college or career readiness score. So there's a variety of reasons why a student will take the subtest multiple times, but what we are interested in is the highest score and the date they took it and how they did. So again, I hope you will agree, a very data-rich but easy to navigate document. Slide. However, you as administrators or as instructors are often looking for aggregate information. So those 2 slides, the 2 reports, which are available in the student login as well as to you through your admin portal, are very good for presenting a one-off presentation to an individual student. For instance, as Jerry has us do every time we do these meetings, you might want to highlight a student. That would be a document that would allow you to feature a particular student. If you're doing a student-teacher student conference, this would be a great way to highlight a particular student, but you may be looking at more than one student, in which case you want to log in to your admin. So log into eReg. Slide. When you look at your data manager, at your eReg login, you'll see there's a lot of great resources here. Most of you are using the Hiset functions box on the left. I've bolded data manager, but you certainly would be searching for test center staff or looking at your rosters. Some of you are using the middle sections, managing test takers, searching test takers. That's of course a very good one to create new test taker account. But today we're going to focus on the data manager, which is the very powerful and robust reports feature of your Hiset portal. So you would click on that data manager link. Slide. And in the upper left now, in order to show you all the features, I've actually tried once. It takes about 15 slides. So please, everyone, I know this writing is a little too teensy-tiny to read. So we're going to play along. I'm going to break it down by section, but this is the overall page. And I highlighted what the search criteria are. There's test name, pass, no pass, data range, student, location, and variables. And then in the red circle, there's the 4 different types of tests, but I put them in the banner. So the test taker score reports, quick reports, custom reports, and save reports. And we're going to look at each one of those. But I just wanted you to have the bird's eye view. And some of you might be able to make the screen big enough to read, but I can't. So we're going to go through this on the following slides and take a look as we navigate around this page. So just keep this as an overview of what we're going to be looking at. Slide. So in the test taker score reports, the first thing that you'll be looking at will be the test name, which test you're talking about. Now, again, when I'm taking screenshots, My screenshot device won't let me click that pull down tab and then take a picture of the tab down. So if you were to click on that arrow, you would see that you have these 7 choices. You can do all of the subtests, which would mean every subtest that was ever given for whatever criteria. The second choice is very powerful because it's battery. So in this case, the report will only generate scores for students who took all 5 subtests. So you may be interested in people who took all 5 subtests and passed. That would be your people who earned their HSE credential. Sometimes, often people are interested in, well, who took all the batteries and did not pass or did pass, a comparison of those tools. So you can see students who have attempted all 5, which is required in the state of Indiana before they retest. So this could be an interesting tool for looking at how many students are candidates for retesting. Or you may be interested in one of the individual 5 subtests. For instance, you may have some categorical funding. I worked with a program once that had categorical funding for women taking math and, for science and social studies. It was a STEM type grant that was granted to the district, and I had to generate reports for women who were in those 2 areas. So I could select science or social studies. I could break it down. So I'm trying to sort of give you the broad idea of how you might use these reports. I'll tell you what I did. I should have said this at the beginning. Once I went into Data Manager, the way I developed a sense of how these reports worked was I picked a student and a group of students that I had some familiarity with, and I just ran every report on that same group, printed them up, and hung them on the wall. Now you know I'm a visual learner. And I would just spend some time looking at those reports and saying, okay, so that data is arranged that way. How would I use that? But again, I'm trying to give you guys a taste of how you might use these different categories. So you choose test name. Now pass, no, not pass. You can click both, one or both of those options. Often I leave them blank. The default will be for both of them anyway, but I wanted to highlight them for you so you can look at students. For instance, you might be wanting to run a report to find out how many students are going to be retesting over in the future, in which case I would pull a battery, I would select battery, and I would select not passed. And that would generate a report for me that showed students that had attempted the battery but had not passed it. And then that would be an indicator. Those would be students who would be candidates to retake. I know that one program that I work with used that as that was their outreach hit list. These are students we better make sure we've reached out to. They may be discouraged. Select the test, and then the data range, the test date range. The default is always to January 2014, which is the first day the Hiset was ever offered, but obviously you can constrain that information however you want. Slide. Test taker name. This is counterintuitive, so I like to focus on this, and I'll tell you folks, this was the one I had to learn the hard way. If you leave it blank, it will default to every student within the range. If you put a student name in there, it will only search for that one student. So I got frustrated because I was trying to look for a group of students in a range, and I would try to enter the student name. I had to run 15 separate reports, which you can do. It is a robust platform that will allow you to do that. But then one of the texts told me, no, if you just leave it blank, it will run all the students. You can run the report and then just highlight the ones you want later, and I'll show you that in just a second. So let's back up for a second. Why would you ever want to use this? Well, those 2 student reports that I showed you earlier, they're very graphically easy to look at. They're nice pictures, but you might be wanting to use the data on that student in a spreadsheet, or you might want to be aggregating it and running some kind of other more in-depth report, more robust report. So in that case, you might pick a student, Jerry Hafner, put his name in here, date of birth, ETS ID, and then you would get a report of all of the tests that Jerry had taken, how he did on them, and I'm going to show you in a second, it would come out not in a PDF as those comprehensive report and first report showed us, but it would come out as a PDF. So it's just, as an Excel spreadsheet. So you have an opportunity to look at that data differently. Normally, when you're running reports, you're going to leave this criteria blank. Slide. Location. Now, this came off of my search. Obviously, I am a Senior National Client Relations Manager, I have access to every state in our data bank. You would go to location, it would show Indiana, and then if you have access to more than one test center, for instance, Meghan and Jerry can access every test center in the state of Indiana. You might be in Department of Corrections where you are the chief examiner for more than one site. You will have access to all of the sites that you are associated with. If you are associated with more than one site, if there's an addendum site, you would have links to those sites. So you would select the location. Very important that you select at least some location. Slide. And then the variables. Now this I divided into two screens. This is actually two slides showed together, screens. Almost always you're clicking the total at the top of the page, and you'll see that that grays out every choice. It just says everything. But I wanted to show you the variables. Now, I literally, each one of those arrows becomes a pull-down menu with a variety of choices. And it is incredible how powerful this data search can be. So almost always you're going to choose which battery or test you want to choose. You're going to choose your data range. You're not going to select a student. You're going to choose your location, and then you're probably going to click total all of the variables. But once in a while, you may want to run a report on a specific subset of that group of students. And for example, in that example I gave you earlier, where I was running a report on some categorical funding, STEM funding that had been for a certain gender, you can see that in this thing, if I click on that gender tab, it'll allow me to look only at women, only at men. And furthermore, what I didn't mention is this was a youth offender program. So I was able to go into the age box here and select 15, 16, and 17 as an age. But you can see there's a variety of choices here. And we don't, when you have time on your own, you can go in and take a look at those choices. I think I counted there's over 78 individual subtests that you can, variables that you can combine. So those of you that are mathematics, that's summation 78 is the number of different tests you can run. Quite a few. Slide. Once you generate the report, you'll click on the report, and I show this slide because the first times I did this, as you all see, I wear glasses. I didn't notice, but right there, if you look at the middle of the page, over the DOB, date of birth column, you see those two little arrows like dolphins chasing each other? It turns, and the blue on blue wasn't visible to me when I first saw this. And I clicked this report. That shows that it's generating the report, and I clicked on it over and over and over again. I think I clicked on it about 15 times because I'm an eager beaver that way. But this is the report that you get. And you will see that it creates a wide range of categories: test name, last name, first name, ID, date of birth, test date, scale, score, pass, not pass, whether or not they're college ready. So you get to look at a very, very robust set of data, and then you can choose how you want to export it. So you can either view it on screen. If you look on the lower left, the export format, that pull-down button will give you a choice of either an Excel spreadsheet, which allows you to further manipulate the data in Excel, or as a PDF file. Again, in my case, I was generating that report for categorical funding. I did not want them playing with the data, so I would export it as a PDF file and send it to them that way. Excel is another very powerful software platform. My favorite line is, there is an Excel expert in every office that I've ever worked in. And if you're not sure who that person is, it's you. People who are experts in Excel don't think they know anything about it because they realize all this stuff. It's such a powerful platform. In my family, it's my wife. I always go to her with questions, but if you were to ask her, she would say, no, I don't really know much about it, because she's aware of how much more powerful it is. But Excel is a very powerful platform. I'm competent in it. And if you export files into Excel, you can do a tremendous more amount of data sorting. Slide. I wanted to show you a little bit about what the export feature is and what I meant by selecting students. So I ran a report on the data range here. Now, if you look at the top, if you could just see search criteria, all students pass, not pass. I did this for the calendar year 2019. I went from January 2019 to January 2020. I was doing it for East Los Angeles Development Center, computer-based testing. And I was looking also at their paper-based testing as well. So when you do your search criteria, the top bar will show you exactly what criteria you tagged. And then if you look below it, it created a list of all. Now I've blotted out the students for privacy. This was an actual data range. I don't have a sandbox anymore to play in and create fake data. But you could see that I could choose on the left. If you see, I selected 3 tests that students tests that I want to look at: the math, science, and social studies. Now, if I click the view button, I will actually go to that individual score report that you saw at the start of the slide deck. So you can actually view that report and break it down. So you could view that and print that. You could print, if I had clicked the little white box above the 3 that are highlighted, it would have automatically highlighted all the boxes. So I can print a master report of everybody. Or I can select things out. Now I click on the view box of this particular student, and you can see that this gives me a data view, not so much of a pretty report view of how that student did on each test, whether they passed, and actually gives their scaled scores. So if you like the PDF of the individual score report that the student sees, and that's useful to you, great, you can use that. But if you want a more data-driven or aggregated report, you can find it this way. Now I want to step back for a second. I've just thrown too much information at all of you. The important thing to remember is that you can click on data reports, pick a student or group of students that you have some familiarity with, and start running these different reports, and then this will all become hopefully clear. Slide. You can go to quick reports, which again does quick reports, gives you 2 choices. It's performance and volume, and it gives you a much faster way, fewer choices to generate reports on either performance or volume. Performance is basically actual scores. You'll see data scores. They scored 16 out of 20, and how many students did that. You can see mean, mode, and medium scores. A lot of data-driven information there. You can see volume reports, how many students took tests, how many passed, how many didn't pass. You can choose by test or by battery. So if you choose by test, it will allow you to choose all the tests. But remember, here's the difference between choosing by battery and by choosing by test, all tests. If you click on the by battery, it will only generate reports on students that have at least attempted all 5 subtests at least once. Very important. If you click by test and you select all tests, it will show you how students did on all the tests, whether they've taken all 5 subtests or not. Again, playing around with this a little bit will give you a more competent, a genuine feel for which one is the report you want to do. But of course, you can select individual subtests, the dates, location. Remember, you're going to want to choose location. You're going to want to choose the location that you have access to, and variables. Almost always, you're going to be clicking that total button. Slide. I just wanted to show you what a quick performance report will give you. So you get an idea of the categories. Again, you can print these reports directly as they are, or you can export them into Excel spreadsheet, and you can take a look at some of the different categories. It just gives you dates. The end in the middle, I like this, the number of students, or what we call unique categories. So that's the number of different students who took testing. So one of the top line, if you look at East LA, 12 students took the math test in the month of December. Their mean score was 10.3. That's with the fancy word for the average. What most people think of as the average. The lowest score was 4, the highest was 14. The average performance range, that means range between lowest and highest score that they took, was 4.5. The number who passed out of that 12 was 9. The percentage pass was 75%. So just you see how I read across that line, and I'm sure many of you would understand how this data could be useful to you. Especially people who are generating reports. Corrections departments and corrections programs often have to report these kinds of performance skills. Given with my experience with working with the state of Indiana, I'm imagining that all of you are familiar with how this data can be useful to you. Next slide. And here's a volume report. You can see again, this does a very different report. This will show you in December the total number of unique candidates. There were 29 people who took 53 tests, 26 of them in English, 27 of them in Spanish, Now, scored appointments is an interesting number. So you can see this columns are divided between CBT, computer-based testing, and paper-based testing. Now, in this facility, they don't offer paper-based testing, or nobody took it. If you'll notice, 29 students took 53 computer-based testing. If you look on the far right, 53 were scored. That means that 53 tests were taken and 53 tests were completed and scored. If those two numbers don't match up, you're going to want to know why that is. And there are good reasons why they don't match up. Sometimes a student doesn't complete because there was a medical emergency, because irregularities on the part of the student or the test center were discovered, tornado, or there's a lot of good reasons why students don't complete tests. But whenever those numbers don't match up, as a test administrator and as an instructor, I always wanted to at least understand why that was. But see, very, very powerful. If you look at the difference between these two slides, the first one gives you information on that performance, and this is a volume report. Again, you can use them for a variety of ways. Next slide, please. Custom reports and saved reports are two sisters that work well together. So you can create a custom report, and again, you can choose different variety of criteria. And you could, I highlighted the statistic because custom report allows you to look more specifically at different types of statistical data. You can choose up to 3. And if it's a custom report that you find that you're going to run on a regular basis, you can save it. And again, that center where I was doing that STEM grant, I had to run that same report every month. So I created a custom report, put in the criteria that I wanted, and then I saved it. And then each month, instead of having to recreate that report, I would just go to my saved report and update the data range. So in my case, I was going from, I picked the month of January in 2016, then I'd update it. I'd pull out my saved report and update it to February, like that. Next slide, please. So I appreciate everything you do. And hopefully, if I've done my job right, many of you have more questions than I answered. You all know that I'm very happy to take, especially emails. Oh, I need to update this slide. As you guys, many of you are aware, ETS has spun off to PSI. So I will update, you can still email me at my ETS email, but I will update the slide. My new email address is my first name, last name, adam.springwater@psionline.com. And I'm happy to answer questions. Jerry, I know we're going to do a follow-up, but I really meant that intro. Your stories and the way your staff shares your commitment to students is so appreciated by this adult ed teacher. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Adam. Appreciate how thorough you have been this morning in going over the reports manager. So thank you again. Well, we're almost finished with Hiset. Meghan is with us this morning, and she has a few further updates. Good morning, Meghan.
Good morning, Jerry. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Jerry. Yes, I am Meghan Hoover, the High School Equivalency Coordinator for the state of Indiana, and I do have a couple of updates for you this morning. Some of our programs have asked for our official documents on behalf of their students. If you have not been receiving your documents for your students, please let me know immediately, notify me, and I will look into why you're not receiving those documents. Some of them might be a little bit of a lag time between the official letter that I had sent on your behalf and to the diploma center, so just let me know and I will figure that out for you. There's also been some situations with difficulty with testing. If you're having a testing situation that arises, please reach out to the state. We are on your side. We want everyone to earn a high school equivalency that has tested. If you have not, if you have a situation, please let us know immediately or get us involved early in the stages. If there isn't, that way we can try to figure out a solution together. Next slide, please. Just a reminder as well that the full battery must be completed before a candidate can retest. And there is a 30-day wait before candidates can retest on the same subject. Each subtest may be taken up to 3 times in a calendar year. And if the candidate scores lower on a retest than on a previous test, the highest score will be kept. We've had some situations that have arisen with the battery. There was some people that took the test and they did not complete the battery before they retested. Those individuals did not earn a high school equivalency. So we really need to make for sure that everybody is staying on top of the testing situation and figuring out what test has or hasn't been completed before they can retest. Next slide, please. Accommodations. As soon as a student walks in your door and you are made aware of that they need accommodations, that is the time to start the process. The process does take 4 to 6 weeks to approve accommodations. Once their accommodations are approved, they also should be used in class instruction as well as any kind of testing that takes place during class. Please leave off requesting calculators, needing calculators for the math test. The state has already approved that scientific calculators can be used statewide. If you are putting that on a accommodation, the chances may be that the reason why you're not getting accommodations right away is because of the fact that you have on there that you are trying to get calculators approved. Since the state has already done that, like I said, approved for scientific calculators to be used, just leave that off, and that might help speed up the process a little bit, knowing that there is other accommodations other than a calculator approval. The other thing I would like to mention on this slide as well, that in order for a student to pass the Hiset test, we are asking that everybody should have a level 3M across the board in TABE testing. Make for sure that they are where they need to be in order to take the Hiset test. There's been many occasions where people are using the high school equivalency as a stepping stone. This is supposed to be the final assessment. All the stepping stones should be done in the classroom, and this is the final exam. And also, to students, if they do take a test on a computer and they want to use a scientific calculator, or they would like to use the 4-function calculator and they don't want to use it on the computer screen, they may be given one, as well as there's also a hard copy of a formula sheet. If they need to use that, they can also be given a hard copy instead of using one off the computer screen. Next slide, please. As a continual reminder, adult education programs will receive reimbursement for student test fees, a maximum of $115 for examinees who take the Hiset exam. If they would like to take the at-home version, they will have to come up with the extra funds to do that. We were only going to cover the $115. Next slide, please. To qualify for the free testing, students must currently be enrolled in 12 hours in adult education program. Next slide, please. And they also have to have successful scores on the free Hiset practice exams, all subjects September 2017 release, or the free interactive practice test. And the links are on this slide as well, so that way you can have access to them. Next slide, please. And successful scores on all subjects on the Hiset printable practice test, $10 each, may be substituted for the free practice exams as well. That's all I have for you this morning. Thank you so much, Jerry.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Megan. Now let's completely switch gears this morning. As you may know, there are about 6,000 Afghans housed in Indiana at Camp Atterbury. Indiana is helping with the resettlement, and adult education has a role to play. Maryland is here this morning to explain more. Welcome, Maryland.
Good morning, everybody. The governor has asked the Department of Workforce Development to actively work with Operation Allies and seeing that our future Hoosiers have access to the tools and resources they need in order to obtain employment. So just a few, Jerry gave you a few statistics around Camp Atterbury. I'll give you a few more. There were approximately 7,000 individuals originally sent to Camp Atterbury. We're now down below 6,000 in the 5,800 range. Approximately 52% of those are under the age of 18. That kind of narrows the focus as far as workforce and job placement goes. We are working with 4 resettlement agencies across the state who are the primary connectors of the individuals being resettled and the communities that they're going towards. Right now, there are 5 primary communities where they're looking to be resettled. That includes Hammond, South Bend, Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, as well as, and then Bloomington. That being said, they also are looking at other communities that can help provide housing and the resources necessary for communities of Afghan families to transition to. So they will not send just one family to a community. They want several families to be able to go. So along those lines, we are also hearing about resettlement possibilities in the Muncie and the Columbus area. There are 4 resettlement areas, or resettlement agencies, Catholic Charities in Fort Wayne and Indianapolis, Exodus working out of Indianapolis and Bloomington, and then Welcome Network in the Region 1 Hammond area. These are the agencies that are working to resettle Afghan refugees. Now, while we have around 5,800 currently at Camp Atterbury, that doesn't mean that many will be staying here in Indiana. And it doesn't mean that we won't get refugees from other bases that are housing them currently. The estimate right now is around 600 individuals being resettled into Indiana, but we've seen that number grow a bit, even just the few weeks that we've been working on this project. So I think it really is still to be determined how many individuals and families will actually resettle into Indiana. So one of the things, we've met with all of the resettlement agencies, and we're really trying to help them help our future Hoosiers transition into their home environments and to the workforce. Along those lines, we have now set up a Work One office on Camp Atterbury. Yesterday was the first day that it was open. We have not done a lot of marketing or any kind of outreach yet on this, but we will be working out of Camp Atterbury 2 to 3 days a week, offering workshops, helping them to connect to employers, but also where it relates to adult education right now, we're going to be doing language assessments so that our workforce partners have a good idea of the language abilities of the individuals that are being sent to their communities. Not surprising to anybody that teaches in our ESL programs, there is a wide variety of education levels with this population, all the way from very professional individuals coming to us with credentials from their own country, down to those that are not literate in their own language. So vast differences there. So again, right now, Work One is on site with career services 2 to 3 days a week. Starting next week, adult education professionals will be doing language assessments, and thank you to Broadview Learning Center and to McDowell for assisting with that work. DWD staff, Jerry, Dan, and Roy will also rotate on site to assist with those assessments as well next week for the next couple of weeks. We will then start. We've had a request already for ESL classes on site at Camp Atterbury. We don't anticipate Camp Atterbury being operational with Operation Allies for a long-term period of time. Only looking at this maybe through the end of the year, the first of next year. So these would just be short-term classes that we're going to be putting on site with individuals then transitioning into their communities and into with the local resources that are available to them. So one of the requests that we've had from the resettlement agencies was really orientation to work and essential skills, soft skills that these families would be expected to have when going into employment. So one thing that we will be working on is making the essential skills curriculum and credential available to the residents at Camp Atterbury. Along those lines, our employer engagement team will be working to help employers understand what that credential means, what skills that they possess as a result of it. And I mention that because I think that that will tie nicely to the work that's being done with IETs and WEIs with the essential skills curriculum and helping employers understand its value. So along with the on-site classes and really as a primary resource, we hope to engage Broadview Learning Center's online ESL program. We see that as something that individuals can use currently at Atterbury and then also kind of transition with them when they end up in their final community. So let's see. I think that's about it on Operation Allies. If you have questions or if ideas, I know I've talked with several of you, some really great ideas around IET type programs that would be appropriate for this population to help them in their transition. Very, very open to that. And I think that there's individuals all the way up to the governor's office that are really interested in what it is that we can do for this population. Thanks all.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. I know we will do great work down at Camp Atterbury. Well, let's move on to Jose. Jose is here this morning to provide some updates about the launch of Indiana Career Explorer. Good morning, Jose.
Good morning, and good morning, everyone. Thank you, Marilyn. You know what, before we get into adult ed, kind of to piggyback on the stuff Marilyn was talking about with our Afghan refugees, we have for our career coaches or anyone, Marilyn Jerry, who's working, newly created an Afghan refugee resource kit that actually just came out this morning for us. So I will definitely make sure that to email you that. And the thinking with that is from the governor's office is understanding people and culture. So understanding cultural norms that may be different from us in the States. For example, men with shaking hands, that's you don't do that specifically with that. And that's in our resource kit as well. And that was something that I learned. And so I think this, for people that are going there to help the refugees, this is a great resource kit to give some background information on the culture of the Afghani culture there. You'll also see that tab in our career coaching website tab that I'll talk a little bit about later. But just wanted to say that to go right off of what Marilyn was talking about. Again, Indiana Career Explorer, just our update. Next slide, please. Phase 1 is live. Next slide. Thank you. Phase 1 is live. It satisfied our 7 legislative components, and that was something that we had to have in there prior to when we first met with our vendors. And so now our phase 1 is up and ready, and we're into phase 2 right now, which is, again, tackling our workforce in adult ed. What I can update about Indiana Career Explorer is it'll be specific, again, to our adult ed. So when they register to log in, you'll see a drop down that'll say, I'm an adult ed student or I'm looking for adult ed services. From there, it'll be able to tie you into your adult ed center that you currently go to. With that, we are building out the landing page. So once a student identifies that they are adult ed student, they go to a specific landing page, all of adult ed services. So there's nothing that they don't need, or anything K-12 or something that's not really pertains to them. That's being updated. So once they register as an adult ed student, you will see the resources and a landing page specifically for our adult ed in the Indiana Career Explorer. Assessments are up. We do have the interest assessment. We also have the work skills assessment, and we're just waiting for one more, our aptitude assessment, which should be up and on our site later this month. They just wanted to do a little more research on our third assessment, and before our vendor put that on the website. And so just wanted to update on our Indiana Career Explorer. That's where we're at. You can't do the career exploration. You can access the sites. You can register. You can start the career exploration piece as well, and can go into our site. And so you definitely can use it. I would suggest start using it and seeing how you like the site. And again, at the registration, you'll be able to identify there. Adding to that is what I talked a little bit earlier, our career coaching website. Our career coaching website is live. It's ready to go. It's up. I've presented to majority of consortiums or staff meetings about this. Again, we wanted to make sure our career coaches across the state have ample resources to, again, then have them develop their own best practices through the best practices that we've provided on our site. There's PD on our site for professional development. Also, we have any national organizations that a career coach would like to be a part of. We have our tools, our toolkit, and our toolkit that has all of it, and our resources. With our trainings, we have our self-paced training that's online. Again, it's through the Merkle Foundation, and a career coach can start that at any time. They take about 45 minutes to an hour, and the reason I say that is because you're going to take some notes. There's very good information there, and it's centered around a human-centered approach to career coaching, which is new now. Again, with our career coaching website, it's something that's updated frequently, so you will not see the same information there in a couple of months. But we do have an archive page for anyone to refer back to any articles, any videos that we have, any webinars. We do have in our PD series, we have a webinar series that we have currently up now. You'll see the handout, you'll see the slides, and the actual presentation on there. Excuse me. And so once going through that, this is a site that you definitely want to go to, you definitely want to check out, and something that our career coaches would use and value. As we talked a little about earlier, there will be a tab in there for people and culture, and we will have our Afghan resource kit in there as well. And so that's all the updates for me.
Thank you very much, Jose. Really appreciate all the good information. Let's go to the next slide, Bryn. Donna could not be with us this morning. However, if Bryn will go to the next slide, she had one main message. Continually check your budget, make sure that you're spending your dollars, and the goal is to get to a zero balance by June 30th. So that was her message this morning. Let's go to the next slide, Bryn. Today, with a lot of sadness, Dan will provide his last professional development update before he retires on December 3rd. And before his update, I'd like to provide some words about his legacy in adult education. Before coming to the state, Dan, as many of you know, was a program coordinator and teacher in Marion. He has always been a teacher first. An adult educator recently wrote in a post on a website, "An effective teacher is one who finds a way to inspire hope in a student. Helping students to believe that they can make change in their own lives comes from the ability to hope. When a student sees that they can do something successfully, they begin to build hope. Out of hope, the student can learn to structure a plan and direct changes so that he or she begins to travel on a path that they have chosen. The teacher needs to believe in the student and convey that belief to the student. Each interaction between instructor and learner builds a connection which can develop into trust. Dan. Dan has always believed in community, not only with students, but with adult educators as well. Dan, thank you for your dedicated service to Indiana adult educators and especially to your students through the years. Please enjoy a well-deserved retirement.
Thank you, Jerry. Before I give a little short tour down memory lane, I'd like to start by going over some best practices, as always, which is very important, around the state of Indiana. Bren, next slide. This comes from Washington Township. Using Google Docs and having staff training for Google Drive on 9/29/21, Padlet for Hiset materials, website here is given. Acquisition of new online resources such as BoardWorks, Math Antics, Burlington English Teacher Refresher Training, which they had on September 15th, 2021. Next slide. This one comes from Wayne Township. The majority of our students are dedicated and committed to moving forward. We're addressing barriers at the highest level yet. We work hard to offer flexible schedules to meet the needs of our students. We're asking all students to test in person, but when needed, flexible testing is offered. Next slide. This is from Lara, Lafayette Adult Resource Academy. Lara will participate in the state-funded LINKS program called Technical Assistance on Teacher Competencies and Teacher Induction for many of their teachers. The PDF team will work with these teachers and meet twice a month with teacher participants. The PDF team will meet with all regional teachers once a month. I'd like to remind everyone that all LINKS trainings are free, and we know that programs around the state have utilized them for professional growth points for a long time. All right, next we have from Ivy Tech, and this one is from Evansville. We have worked very hard at making sure there is consistency but flexibility in our classrooms. Additionally, we're increasing student awareness of our wraparound services, such as meal vouchers in our commons, free mental health counseling, bus vouchers, college application admissions, and financial aid assistance. Next slide. This one comes from the YMCA here in Indianapolis. Our best practice that we implemented this quarter was our all hands in orientation. During the orientation, we had our employer partners come to the class and discuss what opportunities were available after the students received their certification. We also had Ivy Tech come and discuss education opportunities that were available in the healthcare field. The students were very pumped up and eager to take the class. We set the tone and created a culture that prepared the students for success. Okay, now this comes to my little part here. I want to thank Jerry for the introduction. Yes, I am retiring, and I was very happy I had the opportunity to tell a lot of people or share this in person during IAACE. It's been a long year with us basically just meeting on webinars and one-on-one or group remote trainings and so forth. And so it was really nice to be able to have the opportunity to see everyone. So a little bit about some memories here. Next slide. Okay. When I first began working in adult education, as Jerry said, I was a teacher and a local program director. Now on this slide, you can see a photo I took of students from one of my early adult education classes. As you can also see, I took advantage of the photo and created a flyer for an early Marion Community Schools adult education marketing plan. For transparency, which we at the state always like to promote, you will see on this table for my last year in 2010-11, my table 4 was 71.79%. I'm sorry, it was 73%. And then I did do a little gig in 2014-15 at Warren Township, where I did slip a little bit to 71.79, but it was the first time that I actually taught a class that was mixed levels of ABE and ELL, which was an incredible experience because it was the first time I really had the opportunity of working with ELL students. And I know it sounds like I'm maybe tooting my horn a little bit, but you know what, that's okay. because I believe that the teachers and directors all around the state need to toot their own horns and toot the horns of their colleagues. Because, you know, Indiana has a rich history of excellence in adult education, and the Professional Development Facilitators Network was and still continues to be a major factor in driving Indiana performance. Next slide. Now, in the summer of 2011, I transitioned to DWD, and I found out I had joined a staff that was seriously determined to help Indiana adult education to be the best it can be. In this photo you see here, lurking behind the candy Santa masks are a future state director, a future local program director, and a future career exploration and advising coordinator. Of particular note, on the table, you will find mason jars filled with delicious granola mix that Marilyn made for all staff each Christmas. Although I am retiring, I still expect my yearly jar. My front porch is not far from the state office. Just saying. Next slide. About 4 years ago, oh, Marilyn's there. We want those. I still want those granola jars. About 4 years ago, I joined the state PD team and we began the Professional Development Facilitators Network. And then I started traveling with my supervisor, Jerry Hafner, to visit local programs. Now, sometimes we were welcomed and sometimes maybe not so much, but nonetheless, every meeting would inevitably start the same. Jerry would lean back in his chair and with the grin of a Cheshire cat would say, "Go ahead, Dan, tell them how many campers you've had and how long you've had each." Next slide. Well, the answer was 4. The first one was a 33-foot with 1 slide, was purchased and traded after 2 trips. We decided it wasn't big enough, Jed and I, so the second one we got was 39 feet with 2 slides, which was much better. But after a summer of hooking up and tearing down during nonstop rain, we decided to go in a different direction. Next slide. Yes, Jerry's laughing right now. You will not have this the last time, Jerry, you get to hear this, okay? So we purchased a 2005 41-foot bath and a half behemoth, which we christened Beowulf. We took this motorhome on a number of trips, including the parking lot of the French Lick Hotel during 2019's IAACE conference. Some of you who shall remain nameless, Warren and RVR, took a trolley on a rainy night and brought the party with you. Somewhere floating around on Facebook, there's a photo documenting the event. Anyway, by this short time, we knew that traveling in a motorhome was going to be part of our retirement. Next slide. That led us to our 4th and last purchase. We got a new 2019 Georgetown 38-foot bath and a half, and as which you'll notice here that the extra bath was not an option. We haven't decided the name on this one here. It's either going to be Clary or Georgette, but down south they tend to have double names for everybody, like Bobby Joe and all that, so maybe it's going to be Georgette Clary or Clary Georgette. But anyways, next slide. Our new journey, Jed and I, begins December 11th. We'll make our way to our first winter destination, which will be Florida. We'll be not far from where Jerry purchased his retirement home. And the next year, we'll be going to Palm Springs, where Nancy Carazia and her husband, Nick, have their retirement home. As you know, I don't let go of people very easily. During the summers, we will come home, travel in the United States parks, and don't be surprised if I give you a call, inviting you to join us by the campfire. I will post our adventures on Instagram and keep all of you on speed dial. And thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of all your lives, because adult education has and always will continue to be part of my family. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. We appreciate you.
And thank you, Dan. Thank you so much. Wonderful memories over 26 years, and the staff will be celebrating Dan and his retirement on December 4th, a Saturday. We have a special occasion planned for Dan here in Indianapolis. So congratulations, Dan, and happy motoring. Next slide. Well, speaking of professional development facilitators, Karen from Elwood is our PDF, and she wrote in a recent newsletter for their adult education staff about their progress toward meeting the mid-year incentive. She wrote, "Overall, as a program, we are in great shape. My report was due to DWD last month, and they were very complimentary to what we're doing and where we are currently at with our data. As students start seeing success on Hiset among their peers, I'm hoping that adds to the motivation. Keep pushing the distance. It really does make a difference. We all need to keep on doing what we're doing to ensure we reach the goal to snag that mid-year bonus." And again, as a reminder, and as we approach December 31st, there will be two mid-year incentives for achieving performance outcomes for this program year. Grantees will receive a mid-year performance incentive for achieving 55% on NRS Table 4, Column G, as I said, by 12/31. The second mid-year incentive is for enrollments, and grantees will receive a mid-year performance incentive for equaling the highest enrollment number of either of these 2 years, 12/31/19 or 12/31/2020. And lastly, new programs, new grantees from program year 2020 will receive a mid-year performance incentive for equaling the enrollment number on June 30th of 2021. So that's the mid-year incentive. Roy is here this morning with some IET and WEI updates. Good morning, Roy.
Good morning. Thank you for the introduction, Derry. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Brand. So the essential soft skills training sessions during October have concluded. Thank you to everyone who attended one. I hope they were helpful. The trainer, Kathy Fletcher, was open for questions and participants were able to drill down their specific issues. The webinar training video is now available for anyone who would like to see it again or to see it for the first time. Just go to the website, www.winlearning.com/Indiana, and scroll down and you will see the training video. Next slide, please. Now I would like to review some of the data I have been reviewing concerning IET WI courses. Looking back at last fiscal year 2020 through 2021, we can see that IET WI participants accounted for approximately 24% of adult ed participants. When you think about ways to increase your enrollments using IET WIs, please take these statistics into consideration. Next slide, please. Now let's look at race and ethnicity distribution of IETs and WIs. For each race, the bluish bar is the state, the orange is for IETs, and the gray is for WIs. If we look at the Asian students, for example, they account for 5.4% of the state's participants. However, their participation in IETs and WIs is lower. What does this distribution look like at your program? What can we do to improve? When we look at the Black participants and we see they are 23% of the state's participants. We do a good job of enrolling them into IETs. From preliminary data, however, it looks like the majority of Black participants come from IDOC and Region 5. The Black participation in adult ed drops off outside of IDOC and Region 5, and this should be investigated. Are we creating bridge programs? The data shows we could do more to recruit Black participants into WEIs. Exactly the opposite happens when we look at the Hispanic participants. Compared to their state distribution, a larger percent of Hispanic students participate in WEI courses, but are underrepresented in IET courses. The data shows we do a great job of enrolling white students in both IETs and WEIs. Next slide, please. Now looking at the gender distribution, again, the state is the blue, the orange is the IETs, and the gray is WEIs. If you want to increase your female enrollments, you might want to consider IETs and WIs. Again, the bluish bar is for the state, orange is for IETs, and gray is for WIs. Females are the majority of the students for both IETs and WIs. While this is good, we can still ask the question, are we recruiting/creating IETs and WIs that attract males? Next slide, please. Now let's look at the age distribution. Starting with the teenagers, 16 through 18, their participation decreases as we go from IETs to WIs. There are age restrictions for training and employment. However, can we do more? Once we hit the 19 to 24 age group, we do a good job enrolling them into IETs and WIs. The 25 to 44 age group make up the majority of IET and WI students. Take that into consideration when developing your curriculums and courses. One interesting thing is that once we get to ages 45 and up, we see a larger percent of them participating in IETs and WIs when compared to their overall state participation. More so seem to be in the WEI courses. What implications does this have when creating WIs? With the new measurable skill gains for WIs, this should give you more options when working with these populations. Next slide, please. All right, now looking at the educational functioning level, or EFL, distribution. And first, we're going to look at the ABE students. No surprises here. The majority of participants in IETs, WIs have beginning EFLs of ABE level 3 or 4. This data is important to look at because it can let you know what level your students need to be at in order to be successful in IETs. This is encouraging because you can work with level 1 or level 2 students to get them to level 3 or 4, and then enroll them into IETs or WIs. After understanding the student's interests, you can create your adult learning plans with their career path in mind. Next slide, please. All right, now let's look at the educational functioning level distribution for the ELL students. Now remember, on the previous graphs, we saw the Hispanic population represented 10.8% of the state's enrollments, but were 13% of WEI enrollments. That increase in participation is mirrored here when looking at the EFL distribution for ELL students. Again, the gray line is for WIs and the bluish line is for the state. The lower EFL students are more likely to participate in WIs. If you want to increase ELL participants, it would appear you can achieve this by seeking them out where they work and creating WIs. Consider this when working with employers. We would expect the IET enrollments for ELLs to be low, considering our IET ABE students tend to be at level 3 or 4. All right, next slide, please. Finally, I want to thank all of the programs I've been working with. I will continue working with everyone to get their IET WI courses approved. Please contact me if you have questions about your application or if you have idea for a course. We can also set up a time to discuss the new measurable skill gains for WIs. Thank you and have a great day. Jerry?
Thank you very much, Roy. Interesting information. Let's look at some state data. So if we go to the next slide, Bryn, we obviously looked at program year 2021 and compared it to program year 2020, and this is where we stand as of yesterday. Indiana's total enrollment in adult education is up by about 725 students from the same time a year ago. This is an 8% increase, which is good. Meanwhile, measurable skill gains are up just ever so slightly. HSEs are down, though, by nearly 325 from the same time a year ago. And obviously, I think we contribute this in large part to the switch in test on July 1st, going from TASC to Hiset. So that's sort of a quick snapshot, if you will, of where we stand at this point, right before the Thanksgiving holiday. Next slide, Bryn. And Matt is here this morning. He has some updates on enters. Matt?
Well, I don't really have any updates other than we did have a really good meeting with Steve earlier this week and some of the local programs. I have a 25 list action item of things that they suggested or that we're going to look at or try to improve in enters. So that was very good. We had a meeting last week with the data person from Hiset. So he's gotten a test file to be able to look at, but he's going to actually get one of the Indiana files to work with getting the Hiset scores into Inters, so we're really close on that. Once that happens, we will give further guidance on what you need to do for scores or entering any other data that may be associated with that, like the ETS number for those students being put into Inters, so you can look them up by ETS number, or at least have the ETS number so the student doesn't have to remember it. We're figuring out where we're going to put it. We have a place that we think that'll work, but we're just not 100% sure. But all of that will come later as soon as we get that stuff in. Other than that, Jerry, I don't have anything. We do have questions for at the end. And just so everybody knows, this webinar will not get worked on until Friday. So it will either be posted Friday or Monday. We do have the holiday tomorrow. So just a reminder on that.
Thank you, Matt. Well, Jen is up next with IAACE. Hello, Jen.
Hello. How are you? I'm good. First off, I want to start with the essay contest. If you haven't heard about it by now, well then, I don't know, maybe you're living underneath a rock, because we ran a ghost story last month about the essay contest, and just to let you know that the prize for first place is $125 for the student. Second place is $100, and third place is $75. It also includes going to the January 24th of Indiana Adult Education Day. So the theme is how adult education will connect you to the next level, and that is in regards to your student. So take a look at all of the rules and tips and everything that is about the essay contest at the link there below. And I hope to get some essays from your program. Next up, maybe you missed it, the Hiset session at the conference. Maybe you didn't get to see it, maybe, I don't know, but because the recording was just not quite all there was some audio issues. We're running the Hiset exam best practices again, and you can attend as an IAACE member. Just register at that code there below, and it's bit.ly/November, just NOV 12 Hiset. And you can attend. It is this Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, and that's 2 p.m. Central for those of us in the Central Time Zone. Yes, there is a Central Time Zone, Indiana. But who would know it right now with this daylight savings time reversal thing? I'm tired. Are you? All right, next up, the Student Ambassador Program. Connie McCullum, the Adult Learner Chair, is really hoping that you'll read this slide and take the time to understand what the Student Ambassador Program can bring to your students. Yes, it has a huge advantage for adult education and the programming at the end, but the program along the way, including all the modules and everything that they learn, can truly benefit your student in everything they need in leadership role. Help them acquire the skills and polish the skills that they need to hold that interview, to build a resume that will attract that employer's eye and make them stand out. The whole ambassador program is about, and there's some great promos going on now with co-aid raffle. You can win $50 for attending and participating in the program and getting it complete. But what we want to do for the Indiana Online Ambassador Program is to assist you to intertwine this program with your classes that you're already doing. You can also utilize it as a tool to recruit students to your program. Have you ever heard of that? Have you ever thought of that? We have thought of that, and we want to share that information with you. So if you'd like to attend, the date for the next session is November 22nd at 12 Central, and 1 o'clock Eastern. We'll give you all that information and more. So please join us for the Indiana Online Ambassador Program on November 12th, 22nd at 12 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Eastern. And the meeting ID and passcode is there right there. But where can you find that information? On the IAACE.com calendar events web page. So any event that I ever talk about will be on that page as well, so that you can participate. Next up, did you know that your IAACE membership includes a COABE membership? Well, if you didn't, again, you might be living underneath a rock. Just kidding. So I want to make sure that you understand, or you have received these dates below. The mini grant for going to the COABE conference, the deadline is the 15th. You never know if you can win, so go ahead and apply. Just do it. It's simple, easy form. Next up, the COABE National Award nominations. All right, you submitted a nomination for IAACE. Perhaps your nominee even won. What a great opportunity to continue their recognition by nominating them for COABE's national awards. So again, I will say that again to make sure you heard it. If you nominated a winning person, or even one that didn't win, because they were all very worthy, then nominate them for the COABE National Award nominations. The deadline's December 21st. The form is very similar to IAACE's. It doesn't match up exactly, but if you need your form from IAACE in order to assist you, I'll be happy to provide that for you. So take a look at that award nomination process and nominate those that you nominated for the IAACE awards, or perhaps you want to nominate someone new altogether. And then the board of directors nominations. Perhaps there's someone from Indiana that would like to serve on COABE. Encourage you to look around at your staff and determine if someone might be a good fit for that. And then, of course, ask them before you nominate them. And then there is a webinar coming up provided by COABE, their virtual reality as a tool for career exploration and workforce readiness on November 19th. Next up, whenever it comes to IAACE memberships benefits, we are constantly working to improve them for you. One of the most recent ads is probably the monthly Tech Talks. Last month, or I guess earlier this month, we did a What Your Numbers Really Reveal, and you can watch that replay on IAACE.com/Tech Talks. And then a follow-up to that one is going to be how you can reach 95% of those that are interested in your program. You probably know the answer, but do you know all the logistics behind it? So the next Tech Talk is the first Thursday of December, and hoping that you can join us for that. All the other benefits are listed there. If you're not an IAACE member, just bite the bullet and join today. Next up, we are recruiting blogs and newsletter articles. This is one of the benefits of the IAACE membership, and I always want to include something new about you and your program. So if you have something that you'd like to share, then please send it on to me, and I encourage you to add the director at IAACE.com to your newsletter list, and then maybe your newsletter could be highlighted in ours. And last but not least, Jerry's always used to me ending on that slide, tricking him up. I just had to throw in the 2022 conference date, September 28th, 29th, and 30th. We're going back down south. Woo! I'm excited to be south, but it actually is still a 2.5-hour drive for me. It's going to be at Belterra Casino Resort. So just save the date. That's on the calendar of events as well. I think that's it, Jerry.
Thanks so much, Jen. Yes, Marilyn.
So I just wanted to give a final goodbye to the field for this webinar. I know that Jerry has probably some questions, but I do need to jump off. In the spirit of this season, I just truly from the bottom of my heart want to thank each and every one of you for what you do every day to serve adult education students in the state of Indiana. And then just personally, I hear from each of you, many of you on a regular basis, and you do just really bless me when you send me messages of support or, you know, just reach out to say you like something that we're doing, or even when you reach out and say you don't like something that you're doing and you share with me the reasons why. So have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, and I will see you guys next month in December. Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you so much, Maryland. And yes, please, everyone, have an enjoyable Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be blessed. Be safe in your travels, and join us next month, December 8th, for our next statewide webinar. As always, we will mail a registration link as we get closer to the date. And as Marilyn said, and I want to convey as well as our team, happy Thanksgiving. Matt?
Yes,
we
sir.
have some
So
questions.
before questions, I forgot to do something.
Okay.
We have a new staff person that is going to be assisting on BOMGAR. Some of you may know who she is, and she's going to be helping with inters. It is my pleasure to introduce Shruti, and if you are still there, please introduce yourself real quick. There you are. I am so sorry, Shruti.
That's okay, that's fine. A lot of people already know me here. Hello everyone, I'm Shruti, and I will be working with Matt on Inters and BOMGAR. And I used to work with adult education team earlier, and then I'm back on this team. I'm very excited and looking forward to work with you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Shruti. So there you go. We'll include her email so you can start copying her on stuff for me, and I'm gonna be adding her in on BOMGAR stuff as soon as we get her accounts all set up. So that's new and exciting. Okay, so questions. I have some questions and more comments. One, can we get Adam's email sent out to the field, or Megan, is there a way that people can just find Adam's email rather quickly or easily? Is it on NRS or not NRS? Wow. ETS?
I can send it out to the field. I'm getting ready to send an email out to the field anyway, so I'll just make for sure that is added on that email.
That's fine. Just stay right here because these are all ETS questions, really.
Okay, great.
So this is more of a statement. ETS seems to have technology issues in posting Hiset scores in the past couple of weeks. Do you have any information or anything on that?
I do not. I know that unofficially scores could take up to 11 a.m. the following day. But if testing is past like the close of business, like let's say testing is after 5 o'clock p.m., it might take a little bit longer for those scores to be up and running. But yet as of 5 o'clock, like yesterday, for example, those scores should be in their system 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I will say this, official scores may take longer. So like for the writing score, someone actually hand scores those essays. So that will actually take 3 to 5 business days to have those scores in. But unofficially, it should be in there 11 a.m. the following day. But I will look into that.
Okay, so this is a question, and it's from Amy Engel. And she's saying that it has come from her, it's come to her attention that the diploma center is being mailed by registered mail now. And is this a change? And for the 16 and 17-year-old students, if they are not listed on the post office address, the diploma is being returned.
Okay, so that is news to me.
Okay, so Amy, can you follow up with Megan and an email and maybe some specific information in that email so that she can talk to the Diploma Center about it.
Yep, send me the name, first, last name, and ETS number, please.
Also, what Amy has a question about, what about accommodations for the use, or what about accommodations for use of calculator for science? Like, so you had said there, if you put in on the accommodations.
Yeah, math. I'll have to ask Hiset that question, because I know calculators were approved across the board for math, but I had not heard or had anyone ask about accommodations for science. So I don't even know if it can even be done. Okay. So let me ask about that before you just start putting calculators on the accommodations.
All right. And this is from Barb. Can we get the link from Jose for career coaching? I know he stepped off, but can we email that out, Jerry, to the field? Bet. Okay, I assume we could do that. Now these are I don't really want to read these. No, I'm kidding. These are all messages to Dan. So this is from Nikki Nolting. I have you beat, Dan. I'm on 7 campers, and we will miss you. This is from Rob Moore. Thanks, Dan. Amy Wood. Thanks, Dan. I look forward to fireside chat. This is and then other people welcoming Shruti. So there you go, Dan. You want to take the floor for a final time?
No, but at least Nikki understands that it's not uncommon for people to change campers very quickly until you find what you need.
Yeah, I know. All right, that's all I've got, Jerry. Did you hear me? You want me to just go ahead and end it? We done? All right. You guys have a great Thanksgiving.